Morons, gearheads, how do we do on this fine Thursday? Always glad to talk to you $10 people. Hope you're cashing those stimulus checks. I got mine. It sounds like everyone should be getting theirs by now, hopefully. Although beware, the girlfriend last year, had her stimulus check stolen and cashed. So be careful out there. There's always no gooders, especially if you live in an apartment building. Anyways, I digress. That's neither here nor there. Um, a lot of news in the world of finance this week, and I think this is the place to be if you're a beginner in finance looking to use that stimulus check to get into investing. Some people could smugly look down their noses at me because they read a tweet and didn't actually listen to the episode to know what I talked about, or you could come here and understand that I pass along news and say, do your own research. So the choice is yours. I send you out there into the world to say, Mike, I found this out and you are 100% correct, or you're a goddamn idiot. Why would I ever listen to you? And that's why I say it's a springboard for your own research. It was the longest intro I've done. I apologize. We got plenty of news to get to. The world of Bitcoin. People panic. People always panic. And that's, again, what I was trying to tell you when I was talking about the stimulus checks. You can, look down your nose at the fact that I said I was bullish because of the stimulus checks coming in. But what I meant by that, and I think it was pretty clear for those of you that listen to the episode, I think it was pretty clear that what I was talking about was not necessarily buying when everyone is bullish. Maybe waiting for some of those dips. We saw a little bit of the last couple of days in the stock market. It wasn't all green. And then with Bitcoin, you really saw it. And crypto in general, you really saw it this week. Cardano was the one that really pulled out of the slump. We'll talk about them in a minute. But why is Bitcoin always crashing? Well, there's a lot of FUD being thrown out in the market all constantly. That's all the more you get into Bitcoin, the more you'll find there's always people trying to scare you. And then the more you look into those people, you realize 2 weeks ago they were pro Bitcoin and now it's weird. Now they're very much against it. I wonder why. Well, you saw the reports with Gemini, people, the whales moving money onto exchanges, which is usually a sign of bearish activity because it means the big dogs are selling their Bitcoin. It was FUD. It wasn't. It was not what it seemed, and you get a lot of that, like with India. People panicking about India. They say India is going to, regulate Bitcoin or ban Bitcoin. That again, that's another story that happens every 2 fucking weeks. People say India is going to ban Bitcoin. Russia's another one that they're always saying is going to ban Bitcoin. And the fact of the matter is, yeah, that's a legitimate, concern I have is the United States being stupid and saying we're going to ban Bitcoin and you have to use, whatever their fucking new coin is. That does scare me, but I always say the more you get into Bitcoin, the more Visa and MasterCard, which Visa's a big player in today's show. But the more these, whether it's big tech companies or whomever, industry runs this nation. Not to get too much into the Channel Zero show, but that's just the fact of the matter. That what controls the stock market and finance controls the country. So if more of these companies are buying into Bitcoin, it ain't never going to happen that they regulate. They'd be foolish to, because there's nothing else that is able to ensure the digital scarcity that Bitcoin is. So, and certainly the government's not going to, if someone could come in with something better than Bitcoin, but it ain't going to be the government. So I don't believe there's any reason to be afraid. In fact, to me, that symbolizes reason to buy because week in and week out, I have bullish news for you and news about, all these institutions getting involved and these billionaires and so on and so forth. And today is no different because Visa, the CEO of Visa, in an interview said, I believe yesterday, maybe 2 days ago. Oh, well, at this point, definitely 2 days ago. I forget I'm pre-recording. But the CEO of, why does it matter, Mike? Why do you have to digress into that bullshit? The CEO of Visa said within 5 years, Bitcoin could be dominant. Bitcoin could be everywhere. Now, you may know that Visa is putting out a crypto rewards card, a Bitcoin rewards card. In fact, I see it advertised, and it may be targeted advertising because I watch a lot of this financial shit. But every YouTube ad I get is for this Visa Bitcoin card. They said the best money we've ever had. The commercial says. Now, I, I I don't think I need to spell out for you that if the biggest transaction firms, Visa and MasterCard, uh, are accepting Bitcoin and using Bitcoin and buying Bitcoin, then that pretty clearly means that Bitcoin is going to be accepted everywhere. If Bitcoin is accepted everywhere that Visa is, that essentially means it's accepted everywhere. And then, that again gets rid of any fear of regulation. So I am not fearful of Bitcoin, and I used a little bit of that stimulus money to buy the dip. So do with that what you will. Trust me if you shall. Another thing, and this is very a nothing thing, but I think it's also very telling. Like I was on with Kirk and Steve last night, and we talked to Carabas, and they were talking about that thing, the March Madness tournament where they're giving away a Bitcoin. If you win, you get a Bitcoin. Now that's a who gives a fuck thing. At the end of the day, I mean, who gives a fuck is who wins. That's a big deal for them, but um, you know, for the company, whoever's running that tournament is essentially giving away, $50,000-$60,000. So to them, it seems like nothing. But what I believe it is, like the reason it's stuck out in my mind, is that the common man is talking a lot more about Bitcoin. Like I talked about when Chris DiStefano did an episode about Bitcoin. I heard Andrew Santino and Bobby Lee mention Bitcoin the other day. The more it gets into this mainstream where people are referring to it as smart money or the future of money, or even a scam, no matter how people are referring to it, I see it as a good thing. Like I talked about that movie, the Bitcoin Billionaires book about the Winklevi, is going to be turned into a movie. The Wall Street Bets thing is going to be turned into a movie. The more these things are talked about in the mainstream and shown in the mainstream, I think that's good news for crypto. And I think we're kind of getting to a tipping point where now everyone's talking about it. You constantly hear people talking about Bitcoin. And I believe that means we're only a short time away from when that translates into everyone buying Bitcoin. Because the more you see it go up, I missed out on 50,000. Now you missed out on 60,000. Then you missed out on 70,000. The more milestones you miss out on, you think, all right, well, shit, I now I got to get in. FOMO, they call it. I use all the hip terms here on Moron Money. So, just always keep that in mind. I will keep updating you on Bitcoin. I know it might seem repetitive, but I'm trying to drill into your head that it is the future and that you're not too late. Something else that might be the future. Everyone has talked about Ethereum forever. Cardano might be taking over. Now, I do worry about that because very smart guys, like my guy Raoul Paul that I mentioned last week, he still sticks with, by the way, Raoul Paul still sticks with $1 million Bitcoin and a $20,000 Ethereum. So may seem a little crazy, especially now, by the end of the year, I'm saying. So the further we get into the year where, Ethereum's still under 2,000, that might seem a little wacky, but you never know. He's a very smart guy, very smart investor. I tend to trust guys with a lot of money when it comes to this stuff, even though I said I don't trust Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, but that's another. I'm a hypocrite, so who cares? Anyways, the reason I bring up Cardano is they are on Coinbase now. They're on Coinbase Pro, which is usually shortly followed up by being on just regular Coinbase. Like I said, with the Mary Hart fork, you can stake your Cardano now and all sorts of great things. On Bloomberg Financial the other day, they had a list of, I think it was like 100 companies, smart contracts that are looking to switch from Ethereum to Cardano. And that kind of goes with what I was talking about a few weeks ago, where if Cardano doesn't figure out their shit with these gas fees, then I'm sorry, if Ethereum doesn't figure out their shit with these gas fees, then the Cardano has a chance to pounce. This is their time to shine. And as we speak right now, I think while this is premiering, or maybe shortly after, Charles Hoskinson is giving a keynote speech where he's expected to give possibly a big announcement. People aren't quite sure what that would be. There's a lot of potential rumors out there, but essentially, the news on Cardano has all been bullish. So I've had enough Cardano where I wasn't buying unless it dipped back under $1. But it might be time to get rid of that rule because I don't know if we're going to see under $1 again for a while. So look at, like I said, look into those smart contracts making, because that's, to me, that's the biggest thing. If people are actually using Cardano, then that's pretty huge, and that gives them a big bump over Ethereum. So look for that as well. And then to the world of stocks, because I have been talking stocks again, baby. And for the last couple of days, I want to pass this along because this got me not nervous because you see this every once in a while. And I don't think it should get anyone nervous for the long term. But I did read an article where they were talking about Aphria being overvalued. And which does make sense because now nothing has changed from the merger with Tilray to now, really. At least not that I've seen. So they went from $8 to $20 ish for seemingly no reason. Now, I believe long term, I think people have just been smart because long term, I think size wise, they have an incredible advantage. And this article that I read talked about how neither Tilray nor Aphria has a foothold in America yet, which is technically true. However, the reason I got turned on to Aphria is because they bought Sweetwater Brewing Company out of Georgia. And Sweetwater Brewing Company is obviously a brewery that makes cannabis. They plan on making cannabis infused whenever that's legal. Cannabis infused seltzers, I think. You've seen that in mass here. I'm not sure if it's legal yet in Georgia or not, but whatever. Sweetwater Brewing is, in a few different states around the country here. So I don't see that as being a problem. If they own Sweetwater Brewing, I think it's very possible that you see Aphria not only come here in the U.S. but really start to expand. But it is something to look at. Hey, big deal. They're the biggest company in the world technically, because it hasn't really opened up in the U.S. and other places yet. So big fucking whoop. If they're the leader right now, they may not be in the future. But I do think they have a good head start. Now, if they're overvalued at $20 right now, that doesn't necessarily mean that'll be overvalued in a year or in 2 years or in 10 years. So I look at more long-term investments. I don't do trading anymore at all, really. So I look more long-term, and long-term, I think things look fine for Aphria. But like I said, that is an article I came across, and I thought they made some good points. So look out for that. Just do your own research on Aphria and see if it's worth investing or if you want to sell or buy or whatever you may want to do. Nano Dimension, again, I am still bullish on. Every time they dip back below $10, scoop up a little more. Round Hill Sports Betting looking great. To be honest, I think anytime Barstool's in the news, which they seem to be this week, with that asshole Gord, whatever. I don't know if Julie DeCaro's book made news outside of the KMS world. I don't imagine a lot of people were talking about her. But that Gord Miller, is that his name? That asshole talking about Barstool. I think anytime Barstool's in the news, it's good sign for Penn National because it gets people talking. And those controversies are not anything that hurt the company. In fact, I believe they help. So Round Hill Sports Betting looking good. But the one I wanted to talk about today was Cinedigm because I mentioned them recently buying up titles. And they just bought a lot more. They bought another company with a lot of titles to their name, mostly classic films, John Wayne movies and stuff like that. Now, my worry with titles like that is, well, we might get rid of all those movies. So we might just fucking cancel every movie that was made before, 1980. So that worries me a little, but just look at Cinedigm. They're a penny stock. Might be worth taking a look at as they go in the future and buy up more titles here. And they're a growing streaming service. So I think, streaming is the now, but when you think like, streaming is already here, how much more room does it have to grow? Well, I think that's what we thought about Netflix 10 years ago. Well, everyone already has Netflix. What's it going to do? So don't sleep on that. Again, do your own research. There's mixed reviews on Cinedigm. Um, but I like it right now. So do with that what you will. This is a little bit of an all over the place episode. I apologize. But that's what we do here. We try to bring you. I say we. Why do I always say we? I'm Mike Aguirre. Try to bring you the news in the financial world. And XRP. You know what? I wanted to talk about NFTs for a second as well. Springboard to your own research. Do your own research, not financial advice. So what I was talking about, I don't know if I was clear about NFTs the other day. When I think I was, but just so you guys know what I'm talking about. I was comparing it to baseball cards and Beanie Babies and that type of shit, saying you can make money off of it. But I do want to be clear. I don't think it's the way to go long term. I think if you kind of know what you're doing in the short term and think you can make a few bucks off of it, if you think you can buy the first tweet from Jack Dorsey. I always say when Ja Rule gets involved, that's when things are really going to skyrocket. I've got my Firefest tickets ready to go. I think this guy's good. So yeah, Ja Rule has an NFT now. Everything points to this being a bubble that's going to burst. That is not the way of the future, but that doesn't mean you can't make a few bucks now. So that's what I was trying to say. I hope no one took that out of context or anything, because they can't take it out of context because I said I'm not buying NFTs, but you know how people are, right, folks? So just be careful with those. But like I said, it's the craze right now, so you can probably get away with it. Now, I was talking to Steve Robinson about this the other day, and he was saying, he's like, well, you can just take a screenshot of fucking NFTs. You would just be paying for an authentication certificate of some kind, which he's 100% right. That's why I don't understand NFTs. I have no interest in buying in. But my point to him was, the only difference between, fake Louis Vuitton and real Louis Vuitton is, the logo is correct and we say one is real and one is fake. But, they're the same bags. They look the fucking same. Who gives a fuck? Now, he said that's a tangible thing, though, that you can physically hold. Well, that's the argument against Bitcoin. They're like, you can't hold it. So as we move to a digital world, I think shit like NFTs, well, again, not a smart bet, but there are fads like that people say, have value. And if we're deciding they have value, like I could make a fucking Hank Aaron rookie card with some Photoshop and, a skilled hand. But the reason I wouldn't be able to sell it for a lot of money is because it needs to be authentic. And we've just decided what's authentic and what's not. So that's my thought on NFTs. Oh, and someone asked in the I like when I get questions. Very rarely do I get them, but feel free to leave a comment or a question, and I'll always read it. Someone asked about Patreon going public, their IPO, possibly coming out later this year. They've talked about, or maybe next year. I don't think I would have a lot of interest in that personally. I think Patreon will continue to grow as a company for the time being. A couple things that worry me with Patreon are their censorship and what that might mean for the future, but also they kind of jam you up the ass with fees a little bit. Like I was just talking to Mike Rainey about this last night, where if you charge $1, if you have a $1 tier, you barely get anything on that. Like you're not making any money. You're kind of just having it to have it, I guess. So with things like that, Patreon is a little greedy. And like I said, they've done some shady stuff in the past where all of a sudden they're charging you $5.25 for a $5 membership because they're taking more money from you than they are the creator. They've done some shady stuff before. Now, I have not personally seen it. I don't like that they're taking down conspiracy shows and things like that. I think that's crazy. And that worries me. But also, I think, there's talk of Jack Dorsey and Twitter starting their own, essentially, Patreon type thing for content creators. Now, if they see what Patreon's doing and say, well, we'll make it cheaper, we'll make it so that you get more of a percentage, and Twitter might be able to do that, then I think Patreon's fucked. So I personally have no interest. For the short term, it may be good because right now there's no competition. That's the thing. If Twitter does get involved, or whoever, if some other content creator gets involved, then that's going to be rough for them. But right now, there's no competition. People have thrown me a few websites before and been like, "Oh, you should go here instead of Patreon. They charge a little less, whatever." Yeah, but nobody's on there. That's my fear is that no one is on those websites. So you'll just get lost. You won't get this great content that you're getting every goddamn day. So that's my thoughts on all of that. And if you have any questions on everything I said, because I know I'm a bumbling asshole and not everything I say makes sense or is clear, but comment and I will always clear it up for you, or leave a question or suggestion on any stocks, crypto, or any questions you have about that world, because I know the crypto world is new to a lot of us. So if you have anything you think I might be able to clear up, leave it in the comments. And till next time, until then, I am horrible on my own. Until next time, gang, keep making money.